Hello everyone. Welcome to Devices, where we bring to you latest defense-related updates. So, let's start. The US and India are negotiating a co-development program for the Air-Launched Unmanned Aerial Vehicle, UAV, a top Pentagon official said Tuesday. I would like to highlight a very exciting project we are currently negotiating. Air-Launched Unmanned Aerial Vehicle or UAV will be a co-development program between the US Air Force Research Labs, the Indian Air Force, India's Defense Research and Development Organization, and an Indian startup company, said Ellen M. Lord, Under Secretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment. Addressing the India Ideas Summit organized by the US-India Business Council, the top Pentagon official said that the US Air Force Research Labs have signed a cooperative research and development agreement with the Indian startup to support the development of the air-launched UAV. The United States welcomes any partnership that enhances US national security objectives, decreases defense procurement costs and leads to greater supply chain stability, Lord said. With the Rafales arriving in the country in the middle of a dispute with China, the Indian Air Force is further boosting the capabilities of the combat aircraft by equipping it with the Hammer missiles from France. The order for the Hammer standoff missiles with the capability to take out any types of targets at the range of around 60 to 70 kilometers is being processed under the emergency powers for acquisition given to the armed forces by the Narendra Modi government. The order for the Hammer missiles is being processed and the French authorities have agreed to supply them to us at a short notice for our Rafale combat aircraft, government sources told ANI. In view of the urgent requirement for these missiles by the Air Force, the French authorities would be delivering the systems to India from the existing stock meant for some other customer, they said. Hammer, highly agile modular munition extended range, is a medium-range air-to-ground weapon designed and manufactured for the French Air Force and Navy initially. The Hammers would give India the capability to take out any bunkers or hardened shelters in any type of terrain including the mountainous locations such as eastern Ladakh, the sources said. Armed with the long-range Meteor air-to-air missiles and Scalp, the Rafales would give India an edge over both Pakistan and China in terms of airstrike capability. Sources said the air-to-air and the air-to-ground strike capabilities of the Rafale cannot be matched by both China and Pakistan, and the aircraft would give India an edge over both the rivals. The situation on the border between India and China has not been clamped down yet. As promised, China was to withdraw its troops, but it has not done yet. Meanwhile, India is on alert. The Uttarakhand government has now proposed that the Air Force should build at least 3 landing grounds in the state, so that there is no problem in delivering goods to the border in difficult times. The Uttarakhand government has said that the Indian Air Force should build 3 modern airstrips in Chamoli, Uttarkashi and Pithoragarh areas. Last year, there was an approach from the Air Force. Now State CM Trivendra Singh Rawat has written a letter to the Union Defence Minister Rajnath Singh in this regard. The airstrip in Uttarkashi, there has been a lot of activity in the last few weeks and it has been made almost operational. It is very important according to the state and the border. In view of the present situation, the Air Force has activated 8 new landing spots in Arunachal Pradesh, so that materials and soldiers can easily reach the areas adjacent to the border. On the other hand, continuous work is going on in the Ladakh region, in which Daulat Beg Oldie is the most important. The Defense Ministry has issued a formal letter to grant permanent commission to women officers in the Indian Army, a statement said. The move paves the way for empowering women officers to shoulder larger roles in the army, the statement said. The order specifies Permanent Commission to Short Service Commissioned (SSC) women officers in all the 10 streams of the Indian Army: Army Air Defence, Signals, Engineers, Army Aviation, Electronics, and Mechanical Engineers, Army Service Corps, Army Ordnance Corps, and Intelligence Corps, in addition to the existing streams of Judge and Advocate General, and Army Educational Corps. In a watershed moment for the Indian military, the Supreme Court on February 17 allowed women officers in the army to be eligible for command positions on par with male officers, asserting that the government's arguments against it were discriminatory, disturbing, and based on stereotype. The court also said Permanent Commission would be available to all women, regardless of their years of service. Simply described, a woman can rise to the rank of colonel and above based on merit, like their male counterparts. At the rank of colonel, an officer picks up a substantive command and would be delegated to carry out independent tasks. A colonel commands a battalion, which typically consists of 850 men. A woman officer who is successful in this position could technically rise to the highest ranks of the army, though, at the moment, women officers will not be inducted into the combat arms such as the infantry, artillery or armored corps. The Indian Air Force and the Indian Navy have already granted Permanent Commission to women officers, even as both have opened up some combat roles for women. The Indian Air Force allows women as officers in flying and ground duties. Women IAF Short Service Commission officers fly helicopter, transport aircraft and now even fighter jets. Amid the ongoing border tensions, the People's Liberation Army (PLA) of China has continued the deployment of around 40,000 troops in its front and depth areas of the eastern Ladakh sector, indicating unwillingness to de-escalate the situation. The Chinese are not honoring their commitment for disengagement at the friction points in eastern Ladakh, news agency ANI reported. In complete disregard to the agreed terms during the multiple rounds of talks at the government and army level, the PLA is refusing to move back. The Chinese have not shown any signs of de-escalation as they continue to maintain their heavy troop deployment of almost 40,000 troops supported by heavy weaponry like air defense systems, armored personnel carriers and long-range artillery in front and depth areas. ANI quoted its source as saying, "There have no been progress in the disengagement process since the last round of talks between the two corps commanders held last week, and ground positions have also not changed." The Chinese and the Indian armies have agreed to not indiscriminately use unmanned aerial vehicles at the friction points in eastern Ladakh along the line of actual control. The confidence-building measure, however, has impacted the real-time verification of the de-escalation process, as aerial objects cannot be used within 10 kilometers of the face-off sites, a senior government official said. Earlier, the two armies had agreed for a 30-day moratorium on foot patrolling at all the friction points while they pulled back from their positions. The official said that as of now, at none of the points, they were engaged in an eyeball-to-eyeball confrontation, but a continuous verification was required and they were prepared for a long haul. The corps commanders of both the armies have held 4 rounds of talks so far on June 6, 22nd, 30th and July 14th to de-escalate from the build-up areas in Galwan Valley, Gogra Hot Springs and Finger area along the Pangong Tso Lake. India has demanded that status quo be restored along the unsettled boundary line. China had amassed troops since April to May all along eastern Ladakh and occupied positions in India's perception of the line of actual control. The two armies have agreed to not take any step that could derail the ongoing talks. No foot patrolling and not flying unmanned aerial vehicles within 10 kilometers of the friction points are among the measures to build confidence, but it also adversely affects the real-time monitoring, said the official.